Happy Friday and welcome to NMH at 1, which updates on the news making headlines across Namibia, Africa and the globe, all through the lunch hour. Today we share local community stories, economic news and keep you in the loop with the various sports locally and internationally. In today's broadcast, we beg the question, will the overturning of a 50-year constitutional abortion right in the U.S. have an impact on Namibia and other countries still fighting to expand reproductive rights? Namibia University of Science and Technology is hosting a public lecture on petroleum activities in the country. 10 juveniles detained with adult inmates in Ohangwena. We also take a look at the news headlining today's daily newspapers, brings you sports and economic news and more international headlines. I am Glenn Rashipura and this is NMH at 1. In today's midday news update, Menzies Aviation is appealing the High Court judgment that was delivered on 29th June, ordering them to stop all ground handling services at the Hosea Kutako International Airport and to vacate the premises in order for the newly appointed company, Paragon Investment Holdings, to take over the services as from today. The spokesperson of Namibia Airports Company, Dan Kamati, has confirmed that Menzies is currently still handling all services until further notice. The company provides landside and airside services to more than 200 airport locations across 6 continents. Do stick around for visual news from across the regions right after the break. In our visual news segment, will the overturning of a 50-year constitutional abortion rights in the U.S. have an impact on Namibia and other countries still fighting to expand reproductive rights? Yana Marie Smith spoke to local activist Dilokwelwa Nathengwa.
It ought to be a clarion call to countries globally that we must not jump from the frying pan to the fire, but instead shift our moral-based politics to healthcare-affirming policies.
50 years of a constitutionally enshrined right to a safe abortion in America has been brought to an end. Will this ruling have an effect on efforts to legalize abortion in many African nations or to enhance stringent abortion restrictions like the one in place in Namibia?
Definitely, there is an impact of Namibia's fight to legalize and then trickles into the regions. For Namibians and many African states that continue to argue that reforming the law would be sanctioned and pedestaling Western European laws and policies from which we must all veer from to apparently retain our Africanness and customs. This again indicates and still begs several critical questions around Namibia and many other African countries that also still rely on Western European healthcare provisions and programs. So does it mean now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned, we are completely shunning our doors to Western medical aid? And that also includes contraceptives, which we now also know that Namibia, with condoms that were recently donated to Namibia by the US, and that also now includes contraceptives that are also donated and so forth. And then secondly, it's also around the impact with our fight for legalization or for the reform on demand legal abortions is the global gag rule that we've seen from Trump's era, which has already impacted so many African states, including for Namibia, which has not actually been acknowledged, but it has been felt. So this surely would further impact our fight, even for other family planning services encompassed within the reproductive justice ambit. And then lastly, also, I think the ideological significance alone that Americans also do not support abortions cascades and descends into the very same poor and uncritical arguments made by our parliamentarians to support the Abortion and Sterilization Act inherited by apartheid. So definitely the impact would definitely trickle into Namibia's arguments and into the broader regions. I'm worried and I'm also cognizant, because this Supreme Court ruling is not a prerequisite but has been a premonition. And in light of this, amongst other things, it ought to be a clarion call to countries globally that we must not jump from the frying pan to the fire, but instead shift our moral-based politics to healthcare-affirming policies to abet abortion law reform. And so I think that I'm worried, but I'm cognizant, and I know that we have had so much advocacy in the past 2-3 years, and even before that, the last 20 years, the last 47 years, when the law itself was enacted, even during the time of apartheid, and where the Black women and the marginalized women in South Africa fought for the liberalization of their own laws in South Africa, that then coming into our parliament from the Ministry of Health at the time, and then again Ministry of Health of this time, is that there is a clarion call for us not to descend into what is currently going on in America, although we do sympathize particularly with the women, girls, non-conforming persons, people who do not have resources and access, such as persons with disabilities, marginalized and the indigenous groups that would otherwise not be able to access the law, because what you will find is now that the different states they now certainly have the liberty to trigger restrictive laws within their spaces, is that it will affect and harm the most vulnerable that cannot continue to travel to other states where it's more liberal.
The Namibia University of Science and Technology is hosting a public lecture on petroleum activities in the country. Yolanda Nell has more.
The Namibia University of Science and Technology is holding a public lecture on petroleum activities in the country. This takes place on the 4th of July from 5 p.m. at the auditorium on the NUST Lower Campus. The theme of the lecture is oil and gas exploration, a Namibian perspective. Namibia can be considered an unexplored frontier that has recently been the subject of interest to oil companies of all sizes. To date, Namibia has seen the drilling of 24 exploration and appraisal wells offshore. Onshore, Namibia has also been seeing oil and gas exploration activities with the drilling of stratigraphic wells and the acquisition of 2D seismic. Namibia is lauded internationally for its very attractive fiscal regime, as well as the firm regulatory and legal framework that regulates the industry. Although the Ministry of Mines and Energy is considered the leading line ministry, other ministries such as the Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform, the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, as well as the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources all contribute to the regulation of the industry. This conversation seeks to give an insight into the Namibian oil and gas exploration industry. The panel consists of industry experts who will all contribute greatly towards understanding oil and gas.
The weekend is upon us, and if you still don't have any plans, you might want to add Michael Kayunde's recommendations to your calendar as he tells us what is happening in the world of entertainment over the weekend.
Hello NMH at 1 viewers, my name is Michael Kayunde. I'm back on your TV screens to give you a lowdown of the events that are taking place in and around the country this weekend. To start with, you can catch Chill Sessions tonight at 1900 hours on Namibian Sun's Facebook page. That's the show where we get to take you in and around the country, counting down the latest music videos for the week. Moving along, you can also catch that is the International Reggae Day taking place at Zoo Park. Gates open at 12 o'clock. That's midday. The event is taking place for 2 days, and you can catch performances by Rush Hama, Shikololo, Ngatu, and more. And lastly, you can also catch that's the bonfire taking place at Garden Inn. Performances by the likes of Don Kamati, Cassidy Caron, Chris Wayne, and more. It's also a 2-day event. That means it's happening today and tomorrow. So those are some of the events that are taking place this weekend. In case you are wondering where it's going down, that's where it's happening. Please make sure you have responsible fun. From me, Michael. Until next time, it's bye-bye.
When we return, we'll be taking a look at the news headlining Namibia's daily print publications. But first, a trip to the marketplace. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. Namibian Sun leads us into the newspaper review as it discloses that 10 juveniles have been detained with adult inmates in Ohangwena, although the Correctional Service Act 9 of 2012 requires that young offenders be kept separately. Namibian Sun has allegedly received complaints from concerned members of the public and subsequently established that by Friday, 24th June, 10 juveniles were behind bars in Ohangwena, 3 at the Ohangwena police holding cells, while 7 others, 5 Namibians and 2 Angolan nationals, are locked up at Ohangwena. 2 of the juvenile inmates at Ohangwena are just 15 years old, while 2 others are 16 and 3 are aged 17. Now, according to the station commander, the juveniles committed serious crimes such as murder, rape, assault, and breaking and illegally entering private properties. Popular Democratic Movement Member of Parliament Elma Dienda says SWAPO's agenda is pushed indiscriminately in the National Assembly, given that seats are overly occupied by ruling party ministers and members. This is according to Namibian Sun's page 2, which reports the MP's sentiments that government ministers consistently fail to come to Parliament session prepared with responses to questions despite written notice given weeks and even months ahead of time. National Assembly Speaker Peter Kashavivi shuts down questions posed to ministers, she charged. Now, according to the National Assembly communications team, Kashavivi's conduct is guided by the parliamentary rules and procedures, and questions may not be asked without notice unless it is of an urgent character or relates to the business of the day and the member has obtained the leave of the speaker to ask it. Now, Dienda has since submitted a formal notice in the National Assembly demanding answers from Prime Minister Sarah Amadila on state-funded renovations being done to Vice President Nangolo Mbumba's farm. The Prime Minister is expected to respond on 7th July. Republican leads with the data about economic growth during the first quarter of 2022 released by the Namibia Statistics Agency yesterday. Overall growth of 5.3% shows some recovery driven by sectors like mining, manufacturing, transport and health, a clear indication of consumer struggle and how cash-strapped the man on the street is the subdued state of the wholesale and retail. This sector recorded growth of only 1%. Speaking on the topic of investment in agriculture, Minister Carl Schleidwein emphasized government's recent policy decision to find private partners to improve production at Namibian green schemes. PPEs can, according to Schleidwein, make the country self-sufficient in producing at least some crops. He recognized that poor management is a key reason for poor performance, signaling out the meat industry where a solution must be found as a matter of urgency. At the moment, the Kalahari community is not nearly as well organized in its opposition to a possible in-situ leaching process in the Stamford aquifer, according to the Allgemeine Zeitung, as a communal population opposing Recon Africa's oil exploration in the Kavango. EarthLife, on the other hand, has now taken an open stand on the issue, reports the paper. Now, on page 3, the Allgemeine Zeitung reports that the Erongo Tourism Forum has now been officially funded. The 12-member body aims to promote regional tourism, the economy, and the equitable distribution of benefits in this industry. It also aims to develop a strategic plan tailored in the region. Do stick around for more newspaper review on the other side of the break. We continue delving through our local newspapers. The Namibian reports that the Chief Executive Officer of the Namib Desert Diamonds, Kennedy Hamunyela, wants to remain in the position for 5 more years and has asked his lawyers to challenge the board's decision to allegedly sideline him from the top job. The NAMDIA board is also accused of interference and being directly involved in the trade of diamonds worth millions of dollars. The outgoing CEO is said to be also requesting a bonus of about 1 million Namibian dollars, which he is entitled to, but the port allegedly refuses to pay. A special housing program has been announced by Oshakati Mayor according to the New Era. The Mayor, Leonard Hango, said that the Town Council created the special housing program for junior police officers, soldiers, and Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs cleaners, many of whom are unable to secure home loans from commercial banks and are not included in housing programs such as Build Together and the Sheikh Dwellers Federation. Now the New Era leads with the news that the Bank of Namibia plans on investigating the bank activities of a housing initiative of incarcerated activists Dimbulukeni Nauyoma and Forex trader Michael Amushelelo that promises to deliver affordable housing to Windhoek residents. Now the property group Safe Namibia is, according to the Bank of Namibia, not registered as a building society in Namibia. This came after the public started criticizing the legitimacy of the group, whose model has caused a stir in the public domain. The Namibian government is concerned about the negligible level of trade and investment between Namibia and Angola. Prime Minister Sarah Amantila, according to New Era, said that the level of investment and trade activities between the two countries is not a commensurate with the bonds the countries share politically and culturally. Now, Namibia was a net importer of agriculture commodities during the first 3 months of 2022, according to the Namibia Statistics Agency. Namibia's trade deficit increased from $257.5 million Namibian in first quarter of 2021 to $274.8 million in the corresponding quarter of 2022. This came as a result of agriculture commodities worth $564.8 million Namibian being exported during the first quarter of 2022, while imported stood at $839.6 million. During the first quarter of 2021, the value of exports stood at $454.5 million, while imports were recorded at $712.1 million Namibian dollars. Now, FNB Namibia announced its new fee structures, which comes into effect today. If you are or know somebody on the FNB user, you might want to stick around for more on this.
I got the fire inside my veins, and it's burning wild again. There ain't no running from the flame. Meet the master of the game. Yeah, I'm too hot to handle. Now you better learn. If you play with fire, then you're gonna get burned.
In our economic news, FNB Namibia announced its new fee structure, which comes into effect today, Friday the 1st July. The updated pricing structure is apparently aimed at providing value for money, affordable banking, while supporting ease and convenience for customers by encouraging the use of various digital channels. These channels allow for 24/7 banking services, allowing to conduct most of their banking activities at a time and in a location that works best for them. The bank has seen impressive adoption of its mobile banking app and other digital channels, facilitating the migration from cash transactions to electronic ones such as transfer and cashless payments. The bank has stated that digital transaction will continue to receive focus in annual transactional pricing reviews. Now, executive for retail banking at FNB, Nangula Kaluma, said that the bank has ensured that price increases remain in line with inflation or unchanged. Customer fees on card swipes have remained the same for the forthcoming financial year, whilst international debit order fees have been reduced by 45%. Kaluma added that FNB's electronic pricing options allow customers free ATM withdrawals up to various limits in line with the bank account that they hold, while card swipes, payments, electronic purchases on airtime and electricity, and transfer are also free on electronic pricing options. The U.S. commodities regulator announced on Thursday it had filed civil charges against a South African man and his company for operating a fraudulent commodity pool worth over $1.7 billion in Bitcoin. Now, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission said the fraud scheme, which saw the firm solicit Bitcoin online from thousands of people to purportedly operate a commodity pool, was the largest it had ever pursued involving the cryptocurrency. The CFTC filed charges against Mirror Trading International Property Limited and its CEO, Cornelius Johannes Steenberg. Steenberg had been a fugitive from South African law enforcement but was recently detained in Brazil on an Interpol arrest warrant, the CFTC said. The CFTC said in its complaint that the company claimed to have a proprietary software that will realize significant trading gains for investors who pooled their Bitcoin with it. But in reality, no such board existed. The CFTC said approximately 23,000 Americans invested in the pool. Let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar's value is down against these major currencies. However, it remains the same value against the Chinese yuan. Capricorn Investment Group stocks are up by 2.3% on the NSX, now valued at $13.50. Trosco Group holding stock prices are also up by 1.1%, while overall index on the NSX has increased by 0.39%. All commodities are down in price except for Brent crude oil, which rose up to $114 per barrel. Gunmen have attacked a mine in central Nigeria, killing some security personnel and kidnapping 4 Chinese nationals. The full story coming up right after the break.
Careers Bistro focuses on the movers and shakers in the corporate world. It takes the content of the Careers Hub that is inserted every Friday in the 3 NMH dailies, Republikane, Namibian Sun, and Ohangwena Zeitung, to viewers on social media. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Careers Hub, The Republikane, Ohangwena Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and Namibia Media Holdings. Careers Bistro focuses on car interviews, career motivational videos, the ups and downs of different careers, keeping in touch with business and more. For career-related content or advertising queries, please contact zone@synergy.com.na.
You are still watching NMH at 1. We now take a look at news from across the continent. Gunmen have attacked a mine in central Nigeria, killing some security personnel and kidnapping 4 Chinese nationals and other workers, a state security official said on yesterday. Now, kidnapping for ransom has become a major problem in northwest and central Nigeria, where heavily armed criminal gangs known as bandits target communities, schools, and businesses for abductions. Chinese employees working on mines and large infrastructure projects in remote areas are often targeted for kidnapping and usually released after a short period in captivity. Gunmen attacked the mine in Ajata Aboki village in Shiroro region of Niger State on Wednesday afternoon, the local commissioner for security, Emmanuel Umar, said in a statement. A yet-to-be-ascertained number of workers in the mining site, including 4 Chinese nationals, were reported to have been abducted, the statement said. It further said that some of the attackers were killed. The statement gave no casualty figure but said the state government commiserated with the security agencies and families of slain personnel. It did not name the mining business or say what material was being extracted. In our next story, the Malian government has adopted an electoral calendar for the transition 3 days before a summit of the Economic Community of West African States, which is due to consider the tough sanctions imposed on the junta in January. Now, the date of the presidential elections is set for February 2024 and that of the referendum on the new constitution for March 2023, according to official documents sent to AFP on Thursday. Legislative elections are to be held between October and November 2023 and local elections in June 2023, according to these texts validated at a government meeting on Wednesday evening. Now, the publication of this timetable is part of a schedule of bitter negotiations between Bamako and ECOWAS after the sub-regional organization placed Mali under sanctions in January and imposed a strict embargo. The Malian junta had already issued a decree in early June stating that they would govern until March 2024. ECOWAS regretted that the authorities had not waited until the end of negotiations with it to set the deadline. In our next story, the UN says its investigators have started a probe into the recent mass killings of ethnic minorities in Western Ethiopia. More than 330 people were killed in the attacks earlier last month in remote farming villages inhabited by the Amhara community, according to government figures. Now, the attacks were blamed by authorities and survivors on the armed group, the Oromo Liberation Army, but the groups dismissed the accusation. There have been calls for independent investigations, and now the Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia, appointed by the UN, has said it is doing exactly that. It is also examining allegations of abuses in the brutal civil war in the north. There has been a lull in fighting in northern Ethiopia, while the conflict continues to spread in other areas. The Commission says the ongoing spread of violence in Ethiopia is an early warning indicator of further atrocities. Now, Ethiopia was initially opposed to the Commission's establishment in December to look into accusations of atrocities in the north, but now its members are allowed to enter the country. It is still not clear, however, if they will have access to war-affected areas. China's one country, two system model of ruling Hong Kong will continue, according to leader Xi Jinping. This story and more coming up on the other side of the break.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is, bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navrae, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
China's one country, two systems model of ruling Hong Kong has worked in protecting the city and must continue long term, says Xi Jinping. The Chinese leader mounted a stern defense of the political system in a speech in Hong Kong following recent international criticism. Hong Kong is marking 25 years since Britain returned the city to China. It is under tight security as its host, Mr. Xi, who is on his first trip outside of the mainland in 2 years. Under one country, two system, Hong Kong is supposed to be governed in a way that gives it a high degree of autonomy and protects freedom of speech and assembly and other rights not found in mainland China. But in recent years, China has been criticized for increasing its control of Hong Kong and enacting laws and reforms that stifle free speech and dissent. The one country, two systems principle arose out of an agreement between Britain and China and is enshrined in law in Hong Kong. The protection ran out in 2047, a deadline which many in Hong Kong have long been worried about. But on Friday, Mr. Xi said it must be adhered to over the long run. The clearest sign yet that China intends to preserve the political model, which critics say has already been compromised to suit Beijing. He added the system had the unanimous endorsement of residents along with widespread approval by the international community, and that Hong Kong's true democracy began when it returned to China. In a win for pro-choice activists, a Florida judge has blocked a state law banning abortions after 15 weeks. The controversial law signed in April by Governor Ron DeSantis was set to go into effect tomorrow and made no exceptions in cases of rape or incest. The decision comes amid a flurry of state legal battles following the U.S. Supreme Court decision to overturn the constitutional right to abortion. The state is expected to appeal to the Florida Supreme Court. Florida is one of 11 U.S. states that protect abortion access in their own state constitutions. On Thursday, Leon County Circuit Judge John Cooper granted a temporary injunction to the law, which was legally challenged earlier in June by a coalition of pro-choice groups and clinics. His ruling blocking the law, however, will not be binding until a written order is signed by him, which he said will not happen immediately. The law is set to go into effect at midnight. Florida, the third most populous state in the U.S., had for over 40 years protected the right to abortion through a privacy amendment in the state constitution. In his ruling, the judge said that the law would violate those privacy protections. In the lawsuit, the plaintiffs argued that the state's residents believe that abortion is a fundamental right deserving of the strongest protection against government intrusion. After the break, we take a look at our local sports news. Do stick around.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. We crunch the numbers that matter, decipher statistics that shape Namibian lives, discuss smart money, and explore the impact of global development locally. Money makes the world go round, so catch us on NTV, oneup2.com, and the Facebook platforms of the Namibian Sun, Republikane, Allgemeine Zeitung, and Namibia Media Holdings. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
In our local sports news, Brave Warriors coach Colin Benjamin has named his final squad for the COSAFA Cup set for South Africa next month. The tournament will take place from 5 to 17 July, with Namibia commencing their assignment against Madagascar in the quarter-final stages later in the competition. Captain Fantastic Gerard Erasmus was named man of the match yesterday for his great captaincy of 72 unbeaten runs and 2 catches that led to the visitors' downfall. The Richello Eagles yesterday had to chase down 194 runs in 20 overs versus the United States of America's international T20 team at United in Windhoek to win their second friendly match in the Castle Light series by a whooping 6 wickets. Sessions in the goalkeeping department have refused from conditioning to match-related training. Brave Warriors goalkeeper coach Arnold Subeb states that training the goalies in department needed in action is important. It's a mental and tactical training in a nutshell, crossing, positioning, and maintaining focus under pressure, and they are responding well, Subeb said. Namibia takes on Madagascar on the 12th July in the quarterfinals of the COSAFA Cup to be staged in Durban, South Africa. Right after the break, we take a look at our international sports scene.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in one bundle. It's new, it's one bill, and you can stay connected in more than one location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Let's take a look at our international sports scene. Paris Saint-Germain have signed midfielder Vitna from Porto for a reported 40 million euros on a 5-year deal. The 22-year-old spent the 2020 to 2021 campaign on loan at Wolves, where he made 22 appearances and scored once. He returned to Porto last season and played 47 times as the side clinched the Portuguese League and Cup double. Vitna, who broke into the Portugal team in March, earning 3 caps, becomes PSG's second signing of the summer after compatriot Nuno Mendes. England boss Eddie Jones has challenged Owen Farrell to find his best international form after relieving him of the captaincy in Australia. Courtney Lawes will lead the team instead of Farrell, who has been Jones' first-choice skipper since 2018. Jones wants the Saracens player to focus on himself after missing large chunks of last season through injury. In our next story, Great Britain's Dina Asher-Smith held on to claim a moral-boosting 200-meter win in the Diamond League on Thursday. The 200-meter world champion, who will defend her title in Oregon next month, was a surprise second to Darrell Nita of 100 meters at the UK Champions. but Asher Smith, 26, ran 22.364 seconds in Stockholm to edge out with Switzerland's Mushinga Kambunji. Stick around for highlights right after the break.
The Evening Review is a daily interview-based talk show that dissects and expounds on current affairs as they occur in Namibia. The show aims at reaching Namibians of all age groups who seek better understanding of the state of current affairs in the country. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Namibian Sun and Namibia Media Holdings. The Evening Review focuses on interviews, latest news, and up-to-the-minute current events. Contact Evening at synergy.com.na. Evening Review, unpacking today's pertinent issues.
You're watching NMH at 1, and if you've just joined us, here are your news highlights. Gunmen have attacked a mine in central Nigeria, killing some security personnel and kidnapping 4 Chinese nationals and other workers, according to a state security official. China's one country, two systems model of ruling Hong Kong has worked in protecting the city and must continue long term, says Xi Jinping. Brave Warriors coach Colin Benjamin has named his final squad for the COSAFA Cup set for South Africa next month. Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Glenna Rashipura. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. Do stay with us for a compilation of news from across Namibia in our regional review segment.
Good day, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Regional Review, the Friday recap. I'm your host, Nole Mongwaba, and on today's segment, we are going to be bringing you news from all corners of the country. Before we get into our news segment, I would just like to take you through a brief span about how our show works. So after our introduction, we have our promo day calendar, which is what day that we are celebrating on the 1st of July, and then we'll jump into our news segment. So we all know that jokes come in different forms and different shapes, such as stand-up comedians, your usual clowns that entertain young people, as well as your comedy shows that we watch on TV and on different social media platforms. International Joke Day should be a reminder that sometimes we should not take ourselves in life too seriously. So please watch the short promo video that NMH and the Regional Review team has prepared. For our first news story, which is brought to us by Monique Adams, who is our regional correspondent in the South, she tells us that on the 24th of June this year, Growtomatic Graphic donated 14 oxygen machines to the Queses Clinic to help combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Please watch the short video that is brought to us by Monique Adams.
We take a look at Growtomatic Graphite Mine that once again donated oxygen machines to the Courses Clinic. This is what transpired.
Primary health care, and sometimes they dig up to $300 for a trip. 300 rand do you maar auto de pedal is. Net IDs and okay. This is not something that is very positive as we claim that health is a basic human right. From the national budget of the financial year 2022-2023, 8,350,333,000 Namibian dollars has been budgeted for the Ministry of Health and Social Services. This is really commendable, but the question also is how it will be spent for this message. Die budget is daar, maar komt die geld by die mense uit. That is only Dr. Kurur will know about that. Director of ceremonies, I should mention here that the attitude of our health workers leaves much to be desired. Tanisen Kaurok Sadadi, I call on the I should hasten to say not all of them, but some. Unfortunately, those rodent-ables bring this noble calling in disrepute. And I say calling, it's not a profession, it's a calling.
And for our second news segment, our second news story, the Khomas Regional Police defeated or dominated rather the police championship games that were held in Rundu. Please watch this video that is brought to us by regional correspondent Mr. Kenya Kambowe, and also just tell us, who do you think, if you were there, who do you think deserved to walk away with the title of the police championship?
The police annual championship games that were held in Rundu for the past week. Khomas region dominated the sporting activities, whereby they scooped around 7 trophies and over 60 medals. These are some of the scenes and speeches that took place at the event.
And 14 Zabezi. Can you give it a applause? Come on! Easy. 23.
Around you, you are all winners. Whether you have won a medal or not, you are all winners in your own right. In the long run, your active and continued participation in sports will pay you a rich dividends in terms of fitness, well-being, and happiness. And remember also, if there's no any competitor, there won't be any winner. It's why I say you are not losers, but you were competitor in this very important event. Directors of ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, sport particularly team sport engender purposeful and meaningful social relationships. We have a need to socially connect with others. This social interaction with our friends and workmates provide our highly desirable security, belongingness, and ultimately happiness. Therefore,
Africa Good Morning is a current affairs program that brings you the latest from Southern Africa and beyond. News, economics, sport, weather, interviews, and so much more. For any advertising or news-related queries, contact agm@synergy.com.na. Africa Good Morning, bringing Africa to you.
Lastly, which is our last segment on today's show, Desiree Gases, who is our regional correspondent in the central northern part of the country, she had a sit-down, or an interview rather, with the founder of Tobic Optics, Mr. Bertus de Jager, who went into more depth about the optics and what exactly transpired before he could have his own fully fledged optics for the community members of Otjiwarongo. Please watch this video brought to us by by Desiree.
Hello, I'm Bertus de Jager. I'm the owner of Tobic Optics in Otjiwarongo. We are here since 2008. We opened the practice. We started small and had a lot of vision for the future. And the main reason we thought of Otjiwarongo was because the town gave the opportunity for bringing another optics to the town. Tobic Optics are striving to give exceptional service and provide our customers with a good quality of frames and lenses. We also provide special contact lens services, and I think you would be able to get a wide variety of frames, and not only optical frames, but sunglasses as well. We give the patients the option, if they don't find something here, I can order it from anywhere in the world. There will always be a waiting period, but for that type of service, I think any patient is willing to wait a bit. At the end of the day, we renovated the shop and enlarged the shop last year, and so this is the new Tobic Optics at the moment. I hope this is a addition to Otjiwarongo, to any shop in Otjiwarongo, to show that we are proud of the town, and we are proud to be here, and we are really here to provide a special customer service for any patients. I think another thing which is special service we try to implement was once in every 2 months, the eye specialist from Swakopmund is coming to visit us, and he see all local people, or all people in the north that doesn't want to travel all the way to Swakop or all the way to Windhoek. He can do a consultation here. It's nothing to do with me. Any other independent optics can also send people to him, and he just deliver the service. Again, I think that is a big advantage for Otjiwarongo, because there's not other eye specialists traveling up north in Namibia, and there's a very, very big demand for it. So at the end, we at Tobic Optics and my colleagues working together, we are proud of our company, and we really are striving to give the most innovative, most positive, most best quality service at the moment, because we also know that this is difficult times, and without that vision, I feel there might not be a very good future. But with the other vision and our vision, I think we can strive to be a competitor in the market. Thank you.
Taking a look at the weather from the north to the south, Ongwediva is sunny and very warm and will hit a high of 34 by Monday. Rundu is sunny and beautiful this weekend with temps in the higher 20s. Otjiwarongo is mostly sunny and beautiful with mild day and nighttime temperatures. Marintal is sunny and pleasant with patchy clouds forecast for Sunday. Finally, Karasburg is mostly sunny today with subsiding winds. Sub-zero nighttime temps are expected from Saturday until Tuesday.
And that was all that we have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. From myself to Nole Mongoba and the rest of the regional review team and the Namibia Media Holdings team, it is goodbye. I trust that we shall remain safe this weekend. Let us do our best to ensure that we stay safe, especially on the roads. Those that will be traveling this weekend, do your part and stay safe. From myself to Nole, it is goodbye.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. We crunch the numbers that matter, decipher statistics that shape Namibian lives, discuss smart money, and explore the impact of global development locally. Money makes the world go round, so catch us on NTV, oneup2.com, and the Facebook platforms of the Namibian Sun, Republikane, Allgemeine Zeitung, and Namibia Media Holdings. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.